Broadcasting live from Dixie State University. Welcome to Dixie State University Media Day Live. Now, introducing your host, Carrick Segmiller.
From the studios of CEC Television, we welcome you to the 2016 Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day. My name is Carrick Segmiller, Assistant Coordinator of Media Relations and Radio Voice of Trailblazer Athletics. We're pleased to have you joining us, whether it be on the radio, television, or internet. Today we give you an inside look at the 2016 fall sports teams with football, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's cross country, and volleyball. Before we introduce our first team, let's meet the members of our media panel who will be asking the questions today. First, to my immediate right, sports reporter for SDG News, Darren Cole. To his right, talk show host and play-by-play announcer at ESPN Sports Radio 97.7 FM, Devin Dixon. And to his right, sports reporter for the Spectrum newspaper, Patrick Card. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Of course, these guys will have all the questions for all of our guests today as we roll along. It's time now to introduce our first team entering its first season in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Today we kick things off with the football team. Joining us from the football team today is head coach Shane McClure, offensive coordinator Riley Murphy, defensive coordinator Sean Howe, senior defensive lineman Keanu Foki, junior defensive back Colton Olson, and senior wide receiver Aubrey Reed. Guys, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Kerry.
First, a question for you, Coach, and more of a statement, rather, I guess you could say. When I think of football this year, and you alluded to this at the RMAC Media Day a couple of weeks ago, I think of the word new. A new conference, new coaches, new players, new logo, new mascot, new stadium name. I mean, it goes on, and most importantly, a chance to create a new identity for Dixie State football this year, Coach.
True. 100%. Everything you said is true.
So, with everything so new, what kind of impact does that have on the season as you get it? It's a chance to make a fresh start here at Dixie State.
You know, it is, and again, I mean, it's a work in progress. You know, every single day we're trying to get better on the field, but also off the field. You know, we do talk about creating a new identity for Dixie State University football, you know, and who we are and what we're going to represent and how we're going to play the game, you know, and philosophically how we're going to go in and how our players are going to attack the game. You know, so yeah, it's a new approach probably, you know, in everything we do. You know, and it's taken a little bit of while for the kids to get used to that, and they still are, you know, but they've been very receiving of what we've asked them to do and worked hard at it.
Open it up to questions from our media panel.
Coach, talk a little bit about the coaching staff you've assembled. A lot of them you were familiar with before, some you weren't. Talk about how you've gelled as a coaching staff.
Yeah, I think it's come along really well. You know, obviously on the defensive side of the ball, where, you know, I was a year ago as a D coordinator, promoted my defensive line coach, Sean Howe, to defensive coordinator. Our assistant defensive line coach became our full-time D-line coach, and then brought in a defensive backs coach, Isaiah Williams, who had most recently been in New Mexico State, but I had known probably 10 years ago and kind of followed his career a little bit. So there's a lot of familiarity on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, honestly, I looked around, you know, and Coach Murphy and I had recruited against each other a lot. I'd seen what he'd done with, you know, the talent or lack thereof that he had down at, you know, Western New Mexico, and you know, got together. He had the same philosophy as I did, called around, knew some people that he knew, and it just gelled. You know, offensive line coach, Keola Liu, you know, again, familiar because one of my best friends happens to be his cousin. You know, so it's kind of, you know, through that coaching profession where you know, kind of know somebody everywhere. And he's been a great addition. Love Coach Liu. And then Coach Mesa, our wide receivers coach, was most recently over at Loyola High School in Los Angeles. But Coach Howe and Coach Mesa had spent time together at the University of Southern California. So again, there was a great familiarity. You know, you do take some chances sometimes, even assembling a coaching staff. But to have some continuity, familiarity, hey, at least this guy knows this guy, and, you know, and will speak for him in a positive manner and what we're looking for this coaching staff. So I think it's been a great melding of guys from all over the place. A lot of new ideas, a lot of ideas that, you know, I already had, you know, so again, to come together, old, new, and put it all together has been great.
Coach, I'm just curious if you can talk about some of the big-time camp battles right now. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple spots that are still up for grabs at this point in time with the first game coming September 1st. Can you spotlight on some of the areas where there's some good competition?
Well, I'll tell you right now, Devin, I'll say this. There's probably 19 positions that are undecided out of 22 starters, and that's the truth. Again, I mean, we've got battles going on, and we went into camp, and we talk to the kids all the time in the recruiting process. Hey, you're going to get an opportunity. We're recruiting you for a reason to come in here and compete for a starting job, and we're letting that happen. There's some returning guys, especially on the offensive line, with John Hamilton and Jared Clark that I feel really good about. I'm not going to say their job is ever safe, but, they're solid. Keanu Foki here. Colton Olson here, those guys went through the spring with us, obviously both played for us a year ago, had a great deal. Now Aubrey missed a year ago, but, obviously I'd coached against him, was also having a good camp. But again, there are position battles wide open everywhere. We still got 2 weeks till game one. We just had practice 9 finished up about an hour ago. So again, it's hot and heavy, and we're moving guys around, putting them in positions to see how they react.
Coach, a lot of the RMAC schedule, you may or may not be familiar with. They don't have a lot of history with Dixie State. Whether you are familiar or unfamiliar with them, it looks like it's a lot of teams that Dixie State just hasn't played. Does that sort of breed a sense of excitement because you don't know that much about a team, or is it a different kind of challenge? How do you
really, honestly, it only comes down to game one, and we open up with New Mexico Highlands, and, Coach Murphy spent time in the RMAC, like you said, down at Western New Mexico, so there's a familiarity there. At my previous institution and here at Dixie, I've played probably about half the RMAC schools. But again, you go to New Mexico Highlands, they have a new offensive coordinator, so there's a little bit of guessing going on there. After game one, you're going to know what your opponent does and who they are and what they're about and their personnel. So really it's that September 1 kickoff that you go in with a little uncertainty. You kind of prepare a little bit for everything because you don't know what they're going to throw at you.
Question for Coach Murphy. Coach, you do have some experience in this conference. How do you think that helps you with this offense? And then also, what should fans expect from your offense? Can you give us a little bit of what it will look like for the upcoming season?
Yeah. I would like for our offense, when fans take a look at us, that we're a tough physical team. That's something that we are going to run the ball very well, and, it starts there, and from there, everything goes from there. And being familiar with the conference does help. There's some things that we've done that in the past that we had some success with, and some things that, I'd like another shot at those guys again. So those, could be an added benefit, and again, they kind of know what I do as well. So there's a double-edged sword to that.
Coach McClure, obviously there was some recruiting done before the coaching change, but since the coaching change, did the pitch change at all as far as recruiting players to the team?
Well, it's funny because, Carrick brought it up, everything being new and being new and being new. Well, guess what? After I was hired is kind of when that all fell down. We rebranded the university, the $10 million donation, from Legend Solar, everything that was coming came at that point. So it was kind of a whirlwind a little bit. Yeah, we got a little bit of a late start on recruiting just because, again, myself, Coach Howe, and Coach Sobre, my D-line coach, really were the only ones left on staff. So, and to bring in an offensive coordinator and say, hey, by the way, I recruited these guys for you, I don't feel good about it. He knows what he wants to do. We had talked about it, but, at the same time, those new guys came in and they had been recruiting some people at their former schools that we didn't know about. So, there was an added benefit to it. The only negative, I think, in things and how the timeline played out was, we weren't able to really do the mid-year recruiting, where you try and get transfers in at the mid-year so you can get them used to your system so they're not learning it like a freshman today. But that's really the only thing I feel like we missed out on.
Coach Howe, just curious, defense ahead of the offense so far in fall camp?
Well, I certainly wouldn't say that. I think it's really been a good battle. It's been a back and forth. I think that, like last night, for example, Coach told the team today, we go inside run, and we did a pretty good job. We walked away from that drill feeling pretty good, and then we went down to red zone, and Coach Murphy and the boys lit us up pretty good, and we walked away from that, pretty ticked off and didn't sleep well and all that stuff. So it's been a good back and forth the whole time like that.
Question for really any of the coaches. What have you guys learned about this team that maybe you didn't know in spring ball?
Go ahead, you guys can answer.
Well, with a lot of the new additions to the team, I think so far, and Coach McClure's talked to us about it, is, we can't get those guys out of the locker room. Right now, it seems like they're really bonding and coming together well, and it's still early, but, the gelling process seems like it's heading the right direction.
Coach McClure, when I spoke to you earlier, you said you probably wouldn't pick team captains till the second or third game. You're going to let the natural leadership come out. Has there been any players that have shown that natural leadership through camp and up to this point?
A little bit. Again, I think that, like, Devin asked about the position battles, it's still, the guys are fighting for their jobs, fighting for just to be on the field, whether it be one or two. Obviously we always talk about getting on the bus or the plane and who's going to make that travel squad of 56. So again, yeah, there's been some guys obviously that have taken a little bit of a leadership role. I'm still waiting for more of that to arise, and I think it will, especially as we start to get into game planning, and getting ready for somebody else and the guy you got to see next to you in the locker every day. That makes it a little difficult at times.
I'd like to talk with Aubrey Reed for just a second over there. Hey, man, I know you got injured last year. That was pretty frustrating for you. If you can just talk about the road to recovery and the excitement level for you now in your senior season coming off that injury.
Yeah, last year was pretty rough. Hard to watch the games, just being on the sidelines, not being able to help my team. But it was a long rehab process. Got back in the spring, was limited, but I could still run the routes and get my footwork back and everything. Now being full go, it's great. I love it. Love being out there. Love being with my teammates. Bonding's great. Love the offense. One of the best offenses I've ever played in, and everything's going pretty well right now.
Keanu, you've been here a couple of years now, and of course, Coach McClure's come in and really changed a lot of things. What has been the biggest change under Coach McClure?
The biggest change under Coach McClure is pretty much his process that he puts us through. He always preached to us about things that I never heard before, honestly. So like us running around, flying around, being physical, pretty much mentally trying to get our plays down and stuff like that. So that's the difference.
Colton, talk about your expanded leadership role on the defense. You're coming off a great year last year. How do you duplicate it, if not improve upon it this year?
Yeah, you just build from that. So last year was last year, so it's a new year, and I got to start over again and then go from that. And leadership is just everyone on the defense comes together, and we just need to come as one team and then build off of last year and do better this year.
What was the offseason like for you specifically?
Probably just getting the little things down. I knew the defense. Coach Howe changed a little bit, so in the spring we worked a little bit, but then those technicality things that I might have been bad on last year, I say the little things is what I changed most in the offseason, through the spring, through the summer, coming into fall camp.
Colton, I remember preparing game summers last year. Before a game, I looked to see who the leading rusher was for the year before, and a couple games was you. Was it? Do you miss the offense at all, or do you like this? Or maybe I'm incorrect in that.
I've been on defense since I've
Have
been
you ever
here.
played offense for?
Not here at Dixie State, no.
Oh, okay. I'm probably thinking of someone else. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
What did you guys? The question really for any of the players: what did you guys make of getting picked to finish 9th in the RMAC this year?
I think preseason standings don't mean anything, Going to the RMAC, they don't really know what we're about, first of all, and then our showing last year in the GNAC wasn't as good as we'd like it to be, so we can take it as motivation and go from there and build off of that. Obviously, we don't believe we're going to come in 9th, and so we like to stay humble, but have that motivation, and then go into the season knowing we'll do better.
Keanu, 1 touchdown last year. A little fumble, rumble, return.
Yes, sir.
You got any personal goals for you this year? You got a number of tackles or sacks or turnovers?
Pretty
you'd like
much,
to kick?
our personal goal is just to be the leading sacker in the conference, and then we'll go from there on. But most of all, I try to prepare for every practice, take the coaching, being coachable and stuff like that.
Coach Howe, talk to me a little bit about the defensive mindset. Are you guys going to be pretty aggressive at times? I know it's based on matchups, but what's your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, I tell you, for us on defense, we're going to try to play the fastest, most physical brand of football we can possibly play. And, You know, a lot of the things we do and a lot of things we coach, teach, and preach to these kids is going to all be built towards getting these kids playing as fast as we possibly can. And I feel like the best defenses I've always been a part of or seen play are the fastest defenses. And so, you know, we talk about it every day to these guys. Me and Coach Mack and the guys, we go into the defensive staff room, and it's like hours and hours spent on how can we cut this down? How can we cut the verbiage here? How can we make the rules more simple so these kids can really go out and play fast? And you know, and that's really, I'd say that's the most important thing for us on defense. And then, you know, obviously with the physicality after that. So,
Keanu, in fall camp and practice, you guys are having to, you know, face some pretty good running backs on your team. You know, just going on the other side of the ball, could you just talk about how, you know, how deep they are, what they all bring, how hard they are really to stop from a defensive perspective?
Our running backs, they're pretty good. They hit the hole real fast. So pretty much on our side of the ball, we just try to keep our gaps. That's what our coaches preach us every day. Just keep our gaps, hold it until the ball passes the line of scrimmage. Then we all chase the ball down.
Mm-hmm. Coach Murphy, is it kind of nice having a pretty deep stable of running backs?
Yeah, it's really nice. You know, we got some really good guys back there that bring different elements, and they've bought into what we're trying to get as an offense. And, you know, we're blessed right there right now. And, you know, with Cliff Sims, Orlando Wallace, Coleman, you know, pick your poison type thing.
Coach Hal, have you looked at like the offenses you're going to be facing later in the season at all, or have you just pretty much focused on your team now in the first game? Or
that's a great question. Tried to do a little bit of looking ahead, and like Coach Mack said, really our biggest focus is that first game. An unfamiliar opponent, an unfamiliar offensive coordinator who's coming from a place that I kind of have a little bit of familiarity with. We just peaking right now at some other teams, but right now it's about our guys, getting our guys right, getting a more consistent performance from our players. That's really what's important right now. So,
Colton, do you think this defense can be a little bit more opportunistic as far as creating turnovers from what you've seen through the spring and the summer now into fall camp?
Yeah, I think that'd be a big thing this year. One of our mottos is get to the ball, and then get the ball. And I think we really can implement that this season a lot better than last year. I think we struggled on that a little bit last fall, getting turnovers, especially at the start of the season. So I think if we can create turnovers, that's a big game changer, and that's always the goal, to win the turnover battle in a game. And I mean, if you look at it, if you win the turnover battle, you're likely to win the game.
Coach, we talked about the new conference. One thing that comes out of that and is the fact that there's 11 teams that play football, meaning you don't have to play a team more than once. Is that really a big factor to some of us media types make a bigger deal out of only having to play a team once? Or as a coach, how do you look at that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I've had to do it the last 10 years, and now not having to do it, boy, am I happy. Because I'm going to tell you, I've beat people the first time around, and then you go play them the second time, and it is one of the most difficult things you can do. Obviously, they know you, you know them. You come up with a great game plan. Your kids get all excited, play that first game. You go out and you do a great job, and you get the victory. All of a sudden, 3 weeks later, you got to turn around and do it again. And so again, yeah, that is very difficult. It's hard to get kids in recruiting through that. So again, the move to the RMAC is great for us. I mean, I look at it as positive. It probably is a stronger conference than the GNAC. Just, again, you've got Colorado State Pueblo, who won the national championship and then lost in the semis. You've got, Mines, who's gone to the playoffs 3 out of the last 4. You got Mesa, who finished the season in the top 20. I know all 3 are preseason top 20. And then you've got schools that have battled them over, Fort Lewis beat Pueblo. So again, anything can happen in this conference. But yeah, playing a different opponent every week and not having to prepare for the same person twice, huge.
How big of a lead does Tyson Blackner have on the starting job right now, Coach?
With who?
On the rest of the quarterbacks in camp.
Yeah, they all get the same reps. We'll make a decision probably game 1.
So you're saying he does not have an advantage right now?
No one has an advantage right now.
Are there any freshmen you recruited that have a possibility of starting games?
Most definitely. And again, like I said, when we recruited these young men, we told them we were going to get an opportunity to compete for the job, and that's exactly what we're doing. some have risen up and are doing a great job, and we've made that move, really in the last 2 days. Not necessarily, hey, it's your job now, but more so, hey, we're going to let you run with the ones and see how you react. We're going to get you more reps in a live situation and see how you react. And so again, yeah, there's probably, I'm going to say 7 or 8 freshmen right now that I can see in our 2 deep for sure. We're going to be a young squad, and again, we're a little older maybe up front on the offensive line, a little older up front on the defensive line. But outside of that, we're going to be a young football team, and I don't mind that. Again, we recruited some really good athletes to come in here and do what we want them to do, and they're doing it.
Have you had any early setbacks with injuries at all, or is everyone pretty healthy?
Just little things, nothing major, knock on wood, but guys that are being held out of practice, here and there type of deal, but, nothing season ending or anything like that. Normal camp stuff.
How's Blake Barney's camp going so far, in your opinion?
Blake's
Coach?
doing great. Again, I love the fact that Blake kind of pops around and does everything and doesn't complain about it. And I actually kidded him yesterday that we were putting in kickoff this afternoon. I was going to put him as the number 5 running down to, to blow people up. And he said, okay. I didn't even flinch. So no, Blake's doing great, and I love Blake's leadership. He's one of the young men that I think really does step up and doesn't really do it with words. But just the way he carries himself, the way he goes about his business, both on and off the field, I think truly resonates to the rest of the guys.
We got to run to our first break of football. We appreciate you coming by, Coach McClure and the guys. We wish you the best of luck throughout the season. Of course, the football team opening their season at home on Thursday, September 1st against New Mexico Highlands. That game will kick off at 6 p.m. Mountain Time from Legend Solar Stadium. We've got to run to our first break. When we come back with the 2016 Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day, we'll sit down with Athletics Director Dr. Jason Booth. Back after this. Hey Dixie State fans, Carrick Stegmiller here. We've got a new athletic identity. We're building an all-new set, and a brand new show lineup is in store, all coming up this fall. Follow us on Facebook at Trailblazer Weekly to keep up with the latest Dixie State athletic news. It's Trailblazer Weekly, the all-new show, every Thursday at noon on CEC TV and SouthernUtahLive.com.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
Hey Dixie State fans, this is Carrick Stegmiller, the voice of the Trailblazers, here to tell you about Trailblazer Weekly, our new weekly highlights show airing every Thursday at noon on TDS Cable Channel 22 and online at SouthernUtahLive.com. On Trailblazer Weekly, we'll bring you insightful interviews, game highlights, recaps, and analysis, as well as help you get to know the student athletes and coaches of Dixie State University with player profile and coach features. Don't miss a second of the action. If it's anything Dixie State athletics, it's on Trailblazer Weekly, every Thursday at noon on CEC TV and SouthernUtahLive.com.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
Hey Dixie State fans, this is Carrick Stegmiller, the voice of the Trailblazers, here to tell you about Trailblazer Weekly, our new weekly highlights show airing every Thursday at noon on TDS Cable Channel 22 and online at SouthernUtahLive.com. On Trailblazer Weekly, we'll bring you insightful interviews, game highlights, recaps, and analysis, as well as help you get to know the student athletes and coaches of Dixie State University with player profile and coach features. Don't miss a second of the action. If it's anything Dixie State athletics, it's on Trailblazer Weekly, every Thursday at noon on CEC TV and SouthernUtahLive.com.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
Welcome back inside the Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day. Our next guest is the Director of Athletics at Dixie State University, entering his 7th year. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jason Booth. Jason, welcome to Media Day.
Thanks, Carrick.
Thanks for being here. A lot has happened since the last time that we met in this setting in Media Day. Facilities upgrades, Trailblazer rebranding, not to mention continued success of our teams. I'm just going to say it, and I think you would agree. I don't think there's been a better time to be part of Dixie State Athletics. No, you're absolutely right. And we say it every year that, things just, there's only one constant thing in athletics, and that's change. But in our case, thankfully, every year it's been change for the better, just growing and getting stronger and stronger as we go. And as you alluded to, this past year has been phenomenal with rebranding to the Trailblazers has been widely just lauded and just loved and accepted in the community and amongst the team. So that is fantastic. We're very excited about that. You can see some of the changes behind you there on the set. It's been fantastic. And of course, the amazing support shown by Shane and Sean from Legend Solar, and to give us that donation to get our much needed renovations of that stadium going is phenomenal. I mean, it's huge for us, and it's going to mean so much and we're so excited to have it be Legend Solar Stadium now. A question that I run into from time to time as I'm out in the community, talking with friends and people, how really is the rebranding been taken from the community standpoint, and what's the feedback that we've received on that? It's been nothing but positive. I mean, and it's starting to look like a university town now. I mean, immediately when we announced that, we had the banners up on the boulevard, and we've got a campaign out there now for local businesses to buy fiberglass bison to put in front of their business and paint them and have them moved around town and just show their support for Dixie State University. For that's at one end of the spectrum. But the other end of the spectrum, just putting a simple window cling in their front window of their business saying proudly supports Dixie State. That's phenomenal. That is just something that we haven't really had very much of. But now with that identity, it gives people something to display and to show their support and to latch onto. So it's been phenomenal. We couldn't have had it gone any better than it has. Questions from our media.
What's sort of the progress with the fundraising on the football stadium? Because obviously you had the huge donation earlier this year, but have you guys been able to start to get momentum and other fundraising with that? Yeah, we've gotten a few more donations that have come in that will allow us now to get started on that first phase. Mm-hmm. So you'll see, we're in the planning stages now, that behind the scenes stuff, so that when we do break ground, we know what we're building. So architectural and all that stuff. But I foresee right after the first of the year, we'll start to be turning dirt and making some physical changes there. And that first phase, that's with the track and the turf. The track, correct? And the turf, and the extra seating on the east side with the building underneath. Mm. That's the first phase. Okay.
Busy off season for you. Lots of coaching changes really since we've been here last fall for the Fall Sports Media Day. Yep. I'm sure a lot of people are curious about some of the new coaches. If you can, maybe just take a minute and talk to us about some of the new additions to the staff and some of the certain sports. Well, you just spoke with several of them here for football, so that was the biggest one. In terms of numbers and size of program. So the other one, women's basketball, J.D. Gustin is coming in with a whole new staff as well to lead the women's basketball side. In the spring, we have Lindsay Stuckey, who's taken over the women's golf program after Rachel stepped down to she's moving to Mexico with her husband as he goes to medical school. And so all the changes that we've had have been fantastic. We're so fortunate to have good quality people that want to be here and be a part of this program. So I'm excited, and we're hiring the strength coach position now. We're going through that, and incredible candidates as well for that. So that change will, that person hopefully will be here by Labor Day-ish for maybe the second week of September. So, and then we can
really be fully staffed and ready to go for the fall.
One of the other big storylines this summer was the RMAC came into town
Yep.
and was on campus, and a lot of interest from the conference on
Yep.
Dixie State exploring joining in all sports. Can you give us what now, after they've
Sure.
left, it's been like behind the scenes and where the process is right now?
Well, the nice part about this whole process is that we're in the driver's seat. That's, that we are wanted either way you go. In a lot of cases, in these other, all the shifting and all that going on in Division I, schools want to be a part of conferences, but they may not be wanted. That's the rub. But we're wanted, like big time. And that's a large credit due to our coaches and our student athletes of how well they've performed over our brief time in Division II. But where we're at is that we're just finalizing a recommendation from the task force, getting all the information together and weighing all the pros and cons on each side. And there's very good reasons to go either way. And there's no clear-cut decision that it's just so obvious, because if it was, I could have done that myself. But
Right.
which is why we employed the task force to help us to just make sure we got all angles covered for the best decision for the university long term. And that's what it's about. It's not about what's the best thing for the football program, or what's the best thing for the basketball program, or what's the best thing what do I want? No, it has nothing to do with that. It's what's the best thing for the university long term.
So no timetable, no rush, no.
No, because if we were to decide, hey, we're going to do the RMAC, we wouldn't be competing in there until the fall of 18. So we have time, and they ultimately, if that's the route we end up going, they have to ultimately vote us in. And so that wouldn't happen until later this fall. So it's not just, hey, we want to go to the RMAC, okay, you're in. No, it's we got to vote in. Or if we decide to stay in the Pac West, then that's a quicker decision, and then it's over and done with because nothing changes.
Coach, talk a little bit about the things you have done to increase more student support. I mean, you got good community support for the most part, but most times the stands have a lot more community than they do students. Have you guys done things to address, getting more students to arenas? And
we're trying. It's an ongoing battle, and we're not alone in that. There's a lot of, you go meet with other athletic directors in schools at conferences and stuff. It's a constant, what do you do to get the students there? Which is crazy because it's free for students. You think that would be just so obvious, they just come. Well, no, they have a lot on their plate and a lot of demands of their time, jobs. And then you factor in that we're a commuter campus. It's not like we have, 8,000 students and 7,500 are living on campus. There's not that many living right here. And then when you factor in all the other responsibilities they have, we have to convince them to come, and we get that. But we have done some things in the off season. We're actually launching an app, like a rewards program for students to just get them engaged and get them to earn points and just to build things. The student group that used to be called the D Crew is now been rebranded the Stampede, in line with the Trailblazer theme, and it's run out of student government, and they've added some leadership in that will really get that group going. So with that group, if we could get a couple hundred kids there a night, that'll make a huge difference. So we're making progress, but it will also help to get the teams off to very strong starts in the fall, especially football. If we win the first couple games, that will lead to more and more attendance. Last fall, we had great attendance our first couple games. And then based upon scheduling too, sometimes if we have a game over the fall break, it's going to be hard to get attendance. And that really hurts us sometimes, which we can't control that. So.
Do you think the addition of the on-campus dormitories will increase?
Oh, for sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, another 350 students on campus that weren't here last year, it'll really help.
What do you think the biggest rival will be in football in the RMAC, in your opinion?
Colorado Mesa in Grand Junction, 5 hours away. They're strong. We've played them historically in the past. Will be a big one. And Colorado Mines, because they're very good, will be a natural rival. And then, of course, Pueblo for the same reasons. But I could see Fort Lewis and Adams State being on that western slope of Colorado, in closer proximity, being some pretty strong rivals for us, too.
And I know it takes some time to kind of see how those outcomes play out.
But that's why I say Colorado Mesa, because we've already have a history there, and even a recent history with them.
Well, Jason, we appreciate you stopping by and being part of the media day. It's good to check in with you from time to time and just get the athletic administration perspective from it. So we appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks.
We'll go to another break. When we come back to the Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day, we will be back with the women's soccer team. We're back with more Media Day after this. Hey Dixie State fans, this is Carrick Segmiller, the voice of the Trailblazers, here to tell you about Trailblazer Weekly, our new weekly highlights show airing every Thursday at noon on TDS Cable Channel 22 and online at southernutahlive.com. On Trailblazer Weekly, we'll bring you insightful interviews, game highlights, recaps, and analysis, as well as help you get to know the student athletes and coaches of Dixie State University with player profile and coach features. Don't miss a second of the action. If it's anything Dixie State athletics, it's on.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
How long have we been married there?
For 76 years.
He was kind and generous to me before we married, and he was kind and generous to me all these years. We decided on Meals on Wheels because I was getting to the point where I couldn't do all the things that I had been able to do. We're the Spans. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day, live on television, radio, and internet. Our next team won 11 games last season, the most in his program since 2010. It's my pleasure to welcome women's soccer to the set of Media Day.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Coach, we've spoken in the past, and I know your goal is to improve and specifically to win more games than you did the year before. Through your first 3 years here, that's definitely proved to be the case. You've got a solid core offensively and defensively coming back this year, and it seems like you're in a great spot for women's soccer to continue that progression in 2016.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about what our goals are for this upcoming season, and in the past our goal has been improve, get to the top of our conference, but we've talked about, is that our goal still? And the team's been pretty adamant that that's no longer our goal. Our goal is simply to win the conference. So they're focused on that right now, and we're doing what we can to prepare. And we're definitely strong returning defensively, and we'll need a little bit more work on the attacking end to get it rolling. But we've got a really good returning group.
Questions from our media?
Coach, I remember interviewing you a couple of years ago before the season began, and you said you had to make an adjustment that was frustrating with the lowering of the age of the, not only for the boys, but the girls in the LDS Church Mission. You were losing players, and now you're starting to get some players back, or last year you got some players back too. Have you adjusted recruiting-wise with that new, better than you were a couple of years ago?
Definitely. We brought in a large class for 2015. We had 17 new players, so that's obviously going to be an adjustment for everybody, with now a huge chunk of that team returning. and just bringing in, fewer players this year, I think it's going to make a big difference in our performance.
Coach, talk schedule with me for just a second. Non-conference. I know inside conference you get them as they come, and every year you play them a little bit different time. But do you like the non-conference games, and do you like how the Pac-West schedule lays out for this season?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about what our schedule looks like so far this year, and I mean, there's no doubt that the first half of our season is the biggest part of our season. So we play some really tough teams, non-conference games. Sonoma's top 25 in the nation. We play Seattle Pacific, who's always one of those top teams. And then our first two games are in conference play, Azusa Pacific and Point Loma, which is number 1 and number 2 in our conference, let alone I think Azusa's in at number 12 nationally right now. So those are all within, the first really month of our season. That's going to make a big difference how we do in those games.
Coach, your team was able to score a lot of goals last year. Do you sort of expect that to increase or drop a little bit, or where does the attack stand right now?
The attack is going to be new. So luckily we do have Darian, who's on our panel, returning and was a big part in our success the past 2 years up top. So we expect her to lead our offense. But we're going to have some new supporting roles. So it depends on how quickly those kids can come in and get it going for us.
Coach, 4 of your losses last year by 1 goal, and I remember talking in the past saying, the whole game's so important because one play can change it around. Have you do you feel confident with the team you have this year that you'll be winning a lot of those one goal games? And what do you do to change the turnaround? I know you won a lot of 1 goal games as well.
I think we talked a lot about defense even this preseason. I mean, bottom line is if we want to accomplish our goals, we cannot give up as many goals as we did last year. But we're coming back really hopeful because we had a great spring season and our defense did really well. We made a ton of improvements. And we only have, 2 new defenders coming into our team, and we've got, 8 to 10 returning defenders. So we expect defense to really get it going for us, and that's been our probably number 1 topic that we've talked about for how we need to approach this fall.
Question for Coach Reed. Coach, you guys shot about 16 shots a game. Opponents only 11 per game. What are your thoughts when I say that out loud, and what will you try to do better? I mean, is there a golden number of shots you try to go into every game getting?
Yeah, I think we more try to push it on our forwards to have a goal, to take so many shots per game, because that's their main job, is to shoot the ball and to try and score goals for us. But I think also the way the girls have been playing, the diversity of the attack, is we're going to be so dangerous because there's not only one way we can score a goal. There's so many different ways. So I think, moving forward and with our new, if our new forwards can pick up these diverse runs and be creative, I think we could be very dangerous and score more goals.
Montana, your team's losses last year in conference, especially to the top teams in the conference, they sort of burned you with a lot of goals. What sort of adjustments has the defense been making in the off season to make sure, or to try and limit that?
Just like Coach said before, our big focus throughout the spring was really just like solidifying our back line, and so we did a really good job of coming together and trying to figure it out. We didn't give up many goals in the spring season, and like she said, we've got a lot of returners coming, so we're pretty hopeful with how things will go.
Coach, with the goalkeepers, Stacy graduated, but last year you also used Sarah and Danica an equal amount. Are you going to look to do that sort of the same this year, or are you going to try and pick a starting goalkeeper?
Well, it's going to be different in our goal this year for sure. We've had a player, Angie, she's from Sweden. She's been on our roster basically since I've come, but has dealt with injury year after year, but is a tremendous goalkeeper. This will be her senior year competing. We're really hoping to get her in the mix, and would like to have a primary starting goalkeeper, but we do also have, returning players and a new keeper that are all competitive. So we're still filling out that keeper spot, but we would like to be able to solidify one keeper and be consistent with it.
Question for Megan, senior midfielder. You had a goal last year, an assist last year as well. How often do you get to push up in that attack, or you stay back and you help with the defense more?
Well, our formation, we play a 4-3-3, so we have one holding mid and then two attacking. And so for me, I usually am staying up, and I also, before I switched to midfielder, I was a forward, so I'm really used to making those forward runs and getting up into the attack, and then also making sure that we're all getting back and helping on defense as well. So, but I feel like we, our two midfielders that are attacking, get in the mix quite a bit.
And then question for Darian as well. One of the, you're returning leading goal scorer, 7 goals last year. And you looked at last year, it was a year where you were replacing the leading goal scorer that year, and you were able to step up and kind of fill that role. How will you do the same this year to kind of show the younger players coming in and say, this is what we've got to do, we've got to put the ball in the back of the net?
Yeah, I mean, definitely last year my goal was to step up. We obviously lost a big goal scorer, but this year the goal is just to continue improving. There's opportunities on the field throughout the whole game, and we just hope to get the new girls in the mix, and hopefully, we can come up with something up top.
This question for any of the players. Last year you had a lot of road trips, a lot more than home games. This year it's kind of reversed, but a lot of times on those road trips the team unifies a lot. They get to do a lot more. This year, especially with some of you being married, how's the off-the-field unity? Do you guys still do a lot of things together? Are you guys pretty tight as a squad?
So this year we actually all came down in July instead of August. So we've got that extra month behind us, and we all feel like we know everybody a lot better than we did last year. We're meshing. We've been working hard, playing every day since July. So I don't think we'll have a problem with that at all.
Did that make the conditioning test a little easier the other day?
Still hard, but it was easier.
Hey, I don't know if you're aware, but you guys were picked 5th in the conference. It was just released. Coach, what's your immediate reaction to that, and players, your reaction as well?
My reaction is that's fair. I mean, that's where we ended up last year. It's fair. It's, we've got to earn something more if that's what we want. And I think that's what the girls understand too, is that nothing's handed out. So we've got to go and earn it. If we want it, we'll earn it.
What do you think is the most important thing or biggest thing that as a team you have to do this year to compete for a conference title, or, if not, finish higher than 5th?
You want one of the ladies to answer this, or?
Sure, either.
Basically, in order to win the conference, our goal is to win every game. And so that's our plan. We're going to take one game at a time, but our goal is to sweep the conference.
And not only that, but also practicing like a champion, basically. So we're going to make sure that, we had a conversation about it earlier today, that if we want to be the best, we have to play like the best. So we're really focusing on that in practice as well as games, to just make sure that we are doing our best.
And doing all the right things that'll get us there, because we are not happy with 5th place.
Well, our time is up for Win Soccer. We appreciate you stopping by, and we wish you the best of luck and hope that you can finish atop the conference this season. We'll be behind you all the way. Of course, some preseason scrimmages coming up this weekend and early next week with some junior colleges, and then on to September 1st and the season opener at Concordia of Oregon on September 1st. We wish you the best of luck. We've got to run to break. When we come back, we will sit down with our cross-country teams at Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day. We'll be back after this.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Hey Dixie State fans, Carrick Stegmiller here. We've got a new athletic identity, we're building an all-new set, and a brand new show lineup is in store, all coming up this fall. Follow us on Facebook at Trailblazer Weekly to keep up with the latest Dixie State athletic news. It's Trailblazer Weekly, the all-new show, every Thursday at noon on CEC TV and SouthernUtahLive.com.
I'm Anne. I'm a scientist.
Recycling takes a team.
Why don't you let me and me help you out?
Everyone plays a part. Don't trash
I love taking stuff apart and building new things out of it.
what could be treasure.
Pal's my most advanced android. This is awesome. You haven't seen anything yet.
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Got a quarter?
Welcome back to Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day. Our next team enjoyed one of its best seasons in program history last year. It's time to welcome men's and women's cross country to the set. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, joining us on set from cross country, head coach Justin Decker, senior Shaquan Nettingham, senior George Barlow, junior Morgan Lacey, and freshman Arlene Avalos. Thanks for being here today. And Coach, just to start off, I'm just going to say it. I'm excited for cross country this year. Not that I haven't been in the past, but more so this year as you bring in one of, if not the best recruiting classes that you've ever had to build on last year's successes, just to start talk about that. And the rosters are about double the length that they were last year, and just a lot of returning talent and a lot of incoming talent into the programs this year.
Yeah, so you mentioned coming off our best season ever last year. For the men, that was definitely true. By far, last year was the best they'd ever done, and we returned all top 5 of our runners from that team, and then add a couple strong additions to that. One would be Rodney War, who's going to be a senior this year. He's been spent some time in Afghanistan actually with the military, and he was our top runner a couple years ago, so he's returning. So add that to the group we have returning, and then a couple really strong freshmen. So our men's team's gonna build off the success they had last year and looking for a really strong year. Women, we don't have quite as many returners, but a really big and strong incoming recruiting class that we're excited for. Typically we've had about 10 to 12 on each roster, and we've got 17 on the women's team this year. So it's going to be a really deep and talented team. At this point, I don't really have any idea even who the leaders are going to be in our races on the women's team. And you know, that's a good thing because there's just so many with the potential to be up there. So it gives us a lot of depth.
Questions from our media?
Coach, I admit I don't know a whole lot about the cross country program, and I know that the funding is for you guys is probably a little bit less than other sports, but how does it compare to other teams in the conference, other cross country teams? Do they seem to get more funding than your team, or is it about even all the way across?
I think like most other sports, there's a pretty big range. There's some teams, everybody knows in the conference, that does have the bigger budgets, and I think that is all the same for all the sports. So pretty similar, you know, even though if we might have smaller than other sports, you know, other schools are comparable. The schools with big budgets have bigger cross-country budgets, and the schools with smaller overall budgets have smaller cross-country budgets. So yeah, pretty similar to other sports, I think.
Are there things that that could help you become more competitive, other than a bigger budget that could be implemented, or do you even think about stuff like that?
Yeah, one thing actually is starting this year that's going to make a big difference is the addition of, we're starting women's distance track team this spring. So that's one thing I've been pushing for a couple of years, trying to get going, because in cross country, when you don't have a track season in the spring, you're at a pretty big competitive disadvantage, because one, recruiting, it's tougher to recruit when you only have cross country, because the elite runners want to run both cross country and track, and two, having that whole year to train as a team, where when you only have cross country, we finish in the fall, and then we don't really do anything until the next August for the start of the fall season. But now we have that spring season to train together and improve. So that's going to be a huge boost for our women's program this year.
Question for all the runners. Cross country is such a short season. You guys have 3 meets, or 4 meets, maybe another 1 or 2, depending on if you go to the NCAAs and how far you advance. I'm just curious, what's sort of your approach? Because the season is so short and the meets are kind of spread out and there's just so few of them. How do you look at that, as opposed to maybe a basketball team that has 2 games a week?
Well, really it comes down to the meets that really matter the most are at the end of the season. So that's going to be conference and regionals. So really kind of the other meets are kind of a help to kind of help us figure out, get a good feel for racing and kind of getting informed, and really we'll be peaking in our endurance and everything when we get to that point. So once we get to the important races, that's when we'll be at our top shape and ready to compete at that level. So really we're aiming for just those last 2 meets and potentially nationals if we do that well.
Quan, talk to me a little bit about your upcoming season. I know you did okay at the Pac-West tournament, but then when you went a little longer distance in the regional tournament, it seemed like you did a lot better. 6K, 8K, 10K. I mean, how do you train for the different races, and do you feel like the longer races is more beneficial for you?
Yeah, I do actually, and that's what my coach has told me, that I think the longer I go, the better I do. Yeah, I mean, I think because I train for longer distances, I try to do about 10 miles a day or something around there. But yeah, I don't really train differently for the different races. I mean, I do add in the speed workouts and all that, but I really just try and get the distance down, and I do feel more comfortable running the longer distance just because I think I train for it so much that when I get in a race, I know how to pace myself, and I think that helps me.
George, you and Quan kind of pace off each other. You guys kind of compete and challenge each other a little bit.
Yeah, there's the points where you'll find yourself next to your teammate such as Quan, and it's a really big boost if you can kind of team up together and kind of you just have to rely on you're not gonna let this guy go. We're gonna do this together and push on through.
Arlene, go ahead. Arlene, Arlene, as a freshman coming in, number one, it's the college atmosphere opposed to high school, but also you're in St. George now. What adjustments or what surprises have come to you as far as training or?
Well, definitely being in St. George, the heat got me. But I'm adjusting, and especially with my teammates helping me out during practice, always hydrate. They're always keeping me updated with stuff, and they're giving me tips. So just my teammates have been helping me adjust through all this. So they've been really great helping me out.
Morgan, Arlene, are either of you going to do the distance track program in the spring?
Yes.
Do you know what races you're going to be in? Is that 800, 1600, 3200, stuff like that?
Yeah, I would like to do all of those actually and just see how it goes. Because that's what I did in high school, so I guess just kind of,
Yeah, I would like to do any race that would help, my team to go further in championships, hopefully, and I would do anything just to help my team out. I'll do the 16, the 32, anything possible.
Question for Morgan. I mean, you look at the women's team this year, and really not a lot of returners, at least, that will be running any races this year. You were on the team a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind of give you kind of a sense of, I've got to be a leader coming out on this team in this year?
Oh, definitely. Being a returner, I definitely want to help the freshmen because I know how that feels coming in new out of high school. It's a lot different. You have a lot more demands when you're in college. But I love having a young team because I think we have like so much potential, and since we have so many girls on the team, it's going to be good that we're going to be fighting for our spot to be able to compete. So I'm really excited for that.
Being cross country, where do you guys like to run at specifically? I mean, you're running 8, 10, 12 miles. Quan, I've seen you run up Bluff. I've seen that little valley. I mean, I've seen you run around town. But do you have a favorite spot, or coach? Where do you guys train at the most?
Pretty much everywhere. I'll let them answer their favorites, but yeah, we can run pretty much anywhere. So sometimes on the track, roads, hiking trails, the biking trail down by the river. We go everywhere.
I don't know specifically my favorite route, but I do like running like on the street. This might sound funny, but like I like running like against traffic because like cars like pump me up or something. Like just being right next to them, and I usually like to run with the iPod. I mean, when I'm with them, we just run together. I don't use that, but like when I'm by myself, I have my iPod. I have energy, and then you got the flow of traffic. I don't know. It's just I get pumped up. I don't know like what would be my favorite route though.
So pretty much anywhere where he's seen is where
yeah,
he runs
exactly.
the best.
George, your favorite?
I'm kind of the opposite of Char. We spend all week pounding pavement. So anytime we can get on a trail, that's where I like to be. And St. George is pretty good. You've got a lot of access to good trails right around here, so you can jump out and just go out forever as long as you want.
Morgan?
I think my favorite would be the river trail by the Virgin River because it's flat and it's cooler down there. So that's definitely my favorite. And we do a lot of speed workout down there, so that's what I like to do.
Arlene, your favorite?
Oh, I'm still getting to know the place, but I just I'm following my older teammates wherever they go, I go.
I'm just curious, guys. Do you guys do a Spartan race, or do you do as many summer races as you can? You go up north. I mean, what do you try to do to make sure that you're in prime shape for the short season, like Patrick mentioned earlier? Quan?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I've never done any Spartan races, but I have done like half marathons. Like Dogtown and the St. George half, and yeah, I think that helps prepare me because it's like a race atmosphere, and I just get out there and I love running. I don't like care too much about like going and trying to win, but I do like compete, and I do think, like I said, the longer distances they help me, and so I do, and it keeps me motivated too, because when you're like Coach said, we don't have the track, so we're basically going I don't know, like 8 months without training with each other. So, if you can get in some of those races, I think can kind of keep you motivated.
Well, unfortunately, our time has passed. As time goes so fast, we wish we could spend half an hour with each team. But we thank you for stopping by today and wish you the best of luck throughout the season. The cross-country teams open up their season Saturday, September 3rd in Flagstaff, Arizona at the Northern Arizona University George Kite Classic. The Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day rolls on. When we come back, men's soccer will join us on the set. We're back after this.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
There is a place where the sun doesn't hide in the winter, where the greens stay green and the crimson canyons still glow. There is a place where dimples determine destiny, and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where we drive for show, putt for dough, and settle the score with another round. There is a place.
Hey Dixie State fans, Carrick Stegmiller here. We've got a new athletic identity, we're building an all-new set, and a brand new show lineup is in store, all coming up this fall. Follow us on Facebook at Trailblazer Weekly to keep up with the latest Dixie State athletic news. It's Trailblazer Weekly, the all-new show, every Thursday at noon on CEC TV and SouthernUtahLive.com.
What are you, superheroes?
Just four brothers who hate bullies and love this city.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day. 2 teams remain on the docket, and we welcome the next team now. We'll keep the ball rolling with men's soccer. Of course, joining us from the men's soccer program, head coach Tim Busen, along with junior defender Brian Baugh, senior goalkeeper Brad Trella, and sophomore defender Dominic D'Amato. Guys, thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Coach, first a question for you as we start the segment off here. Last year, the team won 10 games. As you're well aware, that's the first 10-win season in program history, the best season they've ever had in the season. You bring back the preseason, not only the preseason goalkeeper of the year, but the reigning goalkeeper of the year in the Pac West, and Brad Trella, and yet still picked 7th in the Pac West preseason poll. How much motivation does that provide you with to duplicate last year's success?
Just focusing day to day, every day's a new day, and the things that happened a year ago, they're great, but they don't really affect us today. And we're just going to concentrate on putting our best performance out on the field in practice and making the good decisions each day, and hopefully that'll get us some good results.
Questions from our media?
Coach, last year, usually watching a defensive game in soccer is not much fun, but our team was fun to watch, even though they're known as a defensive team. Talk about, number one, the skills that you have as far as defensively, but also you got some strikeout attackers like Frankie and some other guys. But also talk about the benefit of having Brian being able to throw in the ball. They can't just kick it to the sidelines and hope not to get a corner kick because they have to face Brian's throw-ins.
Well, there's certainly a good amount of talent on the team. There's certainly a good amount of returners that bring a lot of experience. Having the long throw is a big weapon. Last year it paid off in leaps and bounds. I think that teams may be onto it a little bit now and a little more prepared. I think it was a bit more of a surprise to them last season, so we'll have to make sure that we use it the right way this year. But as far as the returning guys, they're looking very good, but we've also got a number of guys that redshirted last year with a ton of talent, and then there's also guys that have come in that are new students this season that bring a lot of talent. So it's a different team. There's depth to it. And we've got a lot of components to it. Some guys that redshirted, some returners, some leadership, some experience, some new faces. So, this is our preseason, and I'm new to getting to know all of the players and them getting to know me. But so far, the past 3-4 days have gone extremely well. We've been moving forward quickly. I feel very confident about where we're at from just a few days ago, and I think we're starting to find a lot of dangerous weapons out there that hopefully will serve us well this season.
How many different battles in camp? Are the kids making it really hard on you right now, Coach, as you start thinking forward to that first game and shelling out some minutes?
Not on me. I'm not the guy trying to earn the minutes. They are. I mean, they're making it nice for me. We've got depth. And it is difficult for them. I mean, there's good talent, and now I've got to make the decisions. I don't find that very difficult to make. I think it's more difficult for them to accept that decision once I've made it. There's a lot of guys that deserve to be starting players at the college level, and not all of them will be able to. So now we've got to manage how we're going to share those minutes and how we're going to, be able to play the 70th through the 90th minute, which is a strength I think we'll possess. Is we don't have 11 guys that get tired and then go to the bench and can't replenish. We can go to the bench, and I think we'll put in 90-minute games. We'll be ready for overtimes. We'll be at high energy throughout, and I'm excited about that. But I think it's a little more difficult for them having to battle it out every day than it is for me. It's a little more exciting for me to watch it happen.
Coach, obviously this is your first season taking the reins. I've done a little research about last year's team. They're a very good defensive team, very stingy. They only gave up 10 goals. How does your coaching strategy and the formation that you're going to play this year, how does that align with a stingy defense? Is that sort of what you're trying to keep going, or are you looking to be attack first, or how is that going to play out?
Well, I think that there's some new elements to the team. As I said, there's some guys that redshirted last year are more offensive players. Some of the newer players have transferred from some high-powered junior college schools that are attack-minded guys. So I think there's a higher core of attacking-minded players, whereas I don't think the idea last year was we don't want to attack. I think there might have not been quite the personnel top to bottom needed to attack. So we're going to try to move the ball forward a little more. We're going to try to press a little bit more. But at times, you just have to kind of read the situations. We'll be prepared to defend. We do expect to be extremely stingy, but we would like to create a few more opportunities than the year past. So again, day to day, we just constantly are focusing on doing it the right way, explaining to the guys, the type of camaraderie and the mentality it's going to take to move forward, and we hope that it'll serve us well. So,
Brian, Brian, when I interviewed Coach Pittman at the beginning of the year last year, he told me, because I don't want to knock the former coach, but this team has, I've been on good teams and bad teams, and this team has the talent to be a very good team. At first I thought he was, saying what he had to say, and I remember interviewing you shortly after, and you said the same thing, hey, we're going to be good this year. What's your feeling about the team this year?
We're going to be the hardest working team in the conference. Coach has us out there working hard every day, and we hope the ball falls the right way, we hope to put balls in the back of the net. We hope to have a good defense. But as long as we work hard every day and practice and get better, we should have a good team.
Brad, what are your thoughts on getting picked 7th in the conference, especially after, your team only gave up 10 goals last year and had one of the best defenses in the Pac West?
I don't think it's necessarily unfair to say. I think just based in the past, and it happens a lot in sports where teams just have a good season, but we're out to prove that wrong. We're not just going to be a one-season team. Like Brian said, we're working hard in training and hope to prove that 7th wrong. So
76 saves last year, but in the second half, you guys only had 5 goals. When you're sitting back in the box and you're saving all over the place and you're seeing not a lot of production, what goes through your mind? Do you want to strip your goalie jersey off and get out there and play some offense?
No, definitely don't want to do that. That's ugly. But no, it's not easy. But I was a part of a really strong back 5 with the 4 in front of me. They played a lot of minutes, and along with the midfielders, I just had a lot of trust in them. I had Brian here with me all season, and we made a lot of stat boosters is what we call them, where I just had to make shots that were right at me because they took away all other angles. So, yeah.
Dominic, tell me about your outlook on the upcoming season. I mean, what have you been doing this summer, and how excited are you to get out there and compete again and prove you guys can do it the 2nd consecutive year?
I'm very excited. Working hard over the summer, with coach coming in spring season. We didn't get a lot of reps or practices with him, so kind of set the bar. He said, you guys need to be working hard this summer. Come in fit, come in ready to play, because we got a lot of expectations, put on us for our performance last year, and we're looking to build off of that this year. So just, keep working hard, and that's what we're going to do, is just prove everybody wrong. Like 7th last year, we were predicted, what? Like 13th or something like that? Yeah. So we're looking to prove everybody wrong again.
We certainly wish you the best of luck in that endeavor as you seek to finish higher than you were selected to pick to finish in the preseason poll. We've got to run to our next break. The men's soccer team, of course, like the women's soccer team, having some scrimmages coming up, preseason scrimmages with some junior colleges, but officially open the season on September 2nd at the Colorado Schools of Mines at 7 p.m. We've got to run to break. When we come back, we have our last team in the studio with the volleyball team. We'll be back with more Media Day after this. Hey Dixie State fans, this is Carrick Segmiller, the voice of the Trailblazers, here to tell you about Trailblazer Weekly, our new weekly highlights show airing every Thursday at noon on TDS Cable Channel 22 and online at southernutahlive.com. On Trailblazer Weekly, we'll bring you insightful interviews, game highlights, recaps, and analysis, as well as help you get to know the student athletes and coaches of Dixie State University with player profile and coach features. Don't miss a second of the action. If it's anything Dixie State athletics, it's on Trailblazer Weekly, every Thursday at noon on CEC TV and southernutahlive.com.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Hey Dixie State fans, this is Carrick Segmiller, the voice of the Trailblazers, here to tell you about Trailblazer Weekly, our new weekly highlights show airing every Thursday at noon on TDS Cable Channel 22 and online at southernutahlive.com. On Trailblazer Weekly, we'll bring you insightful interviews, game highlights, recaps, and analysis, as well as help you get to know the student athletes and coaches of Dixie State University with player profile and coach features. Don't miss a second of the action. If it's anything Dixie State athletics, it's on Trailblazer Weekly, every Thursday at noon on CEC TV and southernutahlive.com.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
Welcome back to Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day. It's time to welcome our final team of the day, a team that will be defending a Pac-West title in 2016. It's the volleyball team. Coach, thanks for being here with all your players. Of course, want to introduce all of you first. With us today is head coach Robin Felder, assistant coach Liz Fisher, junior right side hitter Brett Anderson, sophomore outside hitter Taylor Duryea, senior middle blocker Lindsey Garrett, as well as senior outside hitter Delane Daniel. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Did I miss anybody? Kaylee Fry.
Senior setter Kaylee Fry.
Senior setter Kaylee Fry. Thank you. I had a different order than was written down here, and so apologize for that. I wanted to make sure we got you all in here. But Coach, it's great to have you here and to wrap up our media day with you. Last year, we were with you, and I asked you about the Sweet 16 run in 2014, and you said, well, that was great, but we really wanted a Pac-West championship. Now you come back with that Pac-West ring in 2015, and what was really supposed to have been kind of a rebuilding year for you, or so others thought. Maybe you didn't think that, but how has that momentum from that Pac-West championship carried through the offseason into this fall camp as you prepare to defend that title?
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, we're looking to defend that title. We brought back 15 girls from the spring, and we have 5 newcomers, so that's 20 kids in the gym. But 15 kids were here all year last year. Tons of experience, tons of momentum. We've got depth in every position, so we're feeling really good in camp right now. Questions
from our media?
Coach, you had a really slow start last year. I think you started out 3-7, then won 16 out of your last 19. And I know you say we need to play the good teams in the off season or before the conference start, and you seem to have a tough schedule again this year. What do you feel more confident that you're going to win more than you lose before the region starts?
I sure hope so. I think we've set up our preseason schedule to just build. We host the first weekend. We've got 3 tough teams. We'll go over to Sonoma and play in the crossover. Of the 4 or 5 teams we play, I think 4 are in the top 25 in the nation. So we'll be able to get a really good gauge how well we're going to be able to compete right away. And like I said, preseason is just that. It's kind of a gauge of here's where we're at and we got to get better, or hey, we're right where we need to be and we still need to get better. So preseason's critical for us.
Coach, talk about some of the position battles, talk about some of the newcomers that you're excited to join, some of the experienced players coming back.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, every position has depth, 3 and 4 deep. All the girls here are returners, but I feel like all the newcomers just don't even seem like newcomers. They've come in, they're loud, they want to compete right away. I just feel like the depth we have is going to be hard to compete with. As of right now, I told them yesterday, you're making my job so difficult because I have 5 different rotations of starters and every one of them would be competitive. So that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
After last year's really close loss in the regionals, have you said anything to the team this offseason about how to refocus and as you prepare for this season?
Yeah, just in preparation of this season, we've met as a team and just kind of tried to set some goals. And, obviously they want to win the Pac-West again. We'd love to go further in the regionals, but we focused on words like discipline and loyalty and just things that are program building versus just I want to win a particular game. If we can build our program the right way, then those things will happen. Wins will happen, but last year's over. As much as I want that game back, we got to just build on that's where we were and let's get better.
I have a question for Tay. The preseason awards aren't out yet, but you know what I'm going to ask. Last year, during conference play, you led the team in kills per set, points, aces on the top team in the conference, and you don't even merit an honorable mention in Pac-West. Does that get you motivated for this year?
Yeah, it for sure motivates me. I don't look back on it a lot because there's nothing I can do and I don't have any control over it. And the awards at the end of the season aren't what make me want to win games and want to play. But it definitely motivates me to train harder, like on and off season, because I do want that award at the end.
Kaylee, what's the off season like? For all you players. I mean, do you try to get as many games as you can? Or are you just in the gym working on specific skill sets? Take me through kind of what you try to do.
Yeah, I think the off season is just as important. Like mentally, you just gotta get ready for the next season, and you just hope that even in the off season and summer that everyone's training to come back and want to win even more. So.
Question really for any of the players. What do you think are the strengths of this year's team?
I think a lot of our strengths, like Coach said, we have a lot of depth. So all the girls that are coming in are really talented. We have so much talent in the gym, and that's just a benefit for every single person because everyone's fighting for a spot, and I love that because in the gym it's so competitive and everyone wants to win, and we have so much depth on the team, which is so nice.
Is it a little different this year knowing that the other teams in the conference are going to be coming after you guys because you won the conference title last year?
Yeah, I think it's a cool feeling to have that we're the best and everyone wants to beat us, and I think that pushes us harder because we do know there's a target on our back, and so I think it pushes us to work harder and defend that even more.
Lindsay, is there a certain team on the schedule you're looking forward to playing more than another, maybe?
Not necessarily more than the other. Obviously, we like to play the tough teams. I think I'm looking forward to, I think our first conference game is against Point Loma, and it's there. And we've always struggled to beat them there, and so I'm really looking forward to that one. Hopefully we'll play well.
Delane, you've always been kind of quiet, but on the court, you sometimes get these really, aggressive expressions on your face. You can tell you're really into the game. I'm wondering, are you that way in practice too, or is that just basically?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how I've always been, I guess. High school and playing at Snow before here, that's just kind of how I've always been. Yeah, I'd say for sure that's how I am during practice.
How big of a advantage is it playing at the old gym at home compared to when you're out on the road in volleyball, compared to other sports? I mean, is that a huge, I know you get some pretty rowdy crowds down there, and the fans are loving it.
Yeah, we do. We have one of the best crowds ever, I think. We totally feel the energy from the fans, and that's one thing. And when we travel, no one has a crowd like us. We have so much support from St. George, and it's so awesome. And all the students at Dixie State, it's so fun. It definitely is a huge advantage. We just feed off of their energy. It's so fun.
Let's bring in Coach Fisher for just a quick question. What do you notice with this group and the newcomers? How's it different from last year at this time with last year's squad?
Honestly, I would say this is our best year so far. We're on our 4th day of practice, and it feels like we've been in the gym for weeks or even a few months. The chemistry is incredible. The level of competition is incredible. It's just really exciting. We cannot wait to start playing and see where they're at because we've looked really good so far, so it's been really awesome.
Lindsay, from a player's perspective, last year at this time, you really didn't know what you had coming in, but this year you guys have so much coming back, especially all conference performers coming back, and on top of that, really good season performers in Kaylee and Tay. Do you guys feel a lot more confident at this time this year than you did last year?
Absolutely. I think that, like they said, this year has just been so different. I think the newcomers have jumped in and just really, really bonded with the team easily. It's like they've been here for weeks. And I think that we have a lot of returners, which is also a positive because it's always nice to have experience when you're starting out the season. And I think we're going to be really well. We're going to do really well.
One final question for the players, and even you can look at it from a coach's standpoint too, but we'll ask the players. You get to start the season at home and host that tournament and welcome some teams that maybe you haven't played as much or at all in your program. How important for you is to have a good start since you're starting at home?
I think it's really important to start strong to kind of see where we are and give us confidence going into the other games and into our season. And I also think that it's important to have fans come out and see what our team can do and bring in a lot of support this year as well.
Okay, well, time has run short on our Media Day event, not just your segment, but our whole Media Day in general. But we want to thank you for being here today. We'll be following your season closely. We wish you the best of luck. Of course, the volleyball team, as we mentioned, opens at home on September 2nd against Black Hills State as part of the Dixie State Crystal Inn tournament inside the Student Activities Center. There'll be a couple different teams from across the country in there, so we invite you out to check that out September 2nd and 3rd at the Student Activities Center. Again, thanks so much for being here. Before we close, I want to remind you about Trailblazer Weekly, our new weekly highlights show including interviews with coaches and student athletes. The show will air live each Thursday at noon on CEC TV and SouthernUtahLive.com. If it's anything Dixie State Athletics, we'll have it on Trailblazer Weekly. Well, that'll do it for our 2016 Dixie State Fall Sports Media Day. To wrap up the show, we'd like to thank all who made this possible, everyone behind the scenes on TV and radio side, as well as our media members here and our coaches and student athletes. We wish our teams the best of luck in 2016. We'll check in a little bit later as we get closer to our Winter Sports Media Day coming up in just a few months. Thanks for watching again. For all of our crew and media members, I'm Carrick Segmiller. Have a great day.